man without purpose drifts through life like a ship without a rudder. He wakes up each day with no real direction, no fire inside, no concrete mission that pulls him forward. And because he lacks that inner compass, his mind becomes a playground for distractions. Instead of focusing on building himself, his skills, his body, his mind, his wealth, he seeks entertainment, comfort, and quick validation from external sources. Without a vision for his future, he becomes consumed by the present, indulging in fleeting pleasures that offer no real fulfillment. He scrolls endlessly on his phone, losing hours to mindless content. He jumps from one shallow relationship to another, mistaking temporary excitement for deep connection. He seeks validation from women because he has no foundation within himself. He chases attention because he hasn't earned the self-respect. When a man lacks purpose, every small obstacle feels like a massive burden. He procrastinates, he makes excuses, and he avoids discomfort at all costs. He sees challenges as reasons to quit rather than opportunities to grow. Because there's no higher mission pulling him forward, he becomes reactive, living at the mercy of circumstances instead of taking control. He blames others for his lack of progress, never realizing that his own unwillingness to commit to a vision is what keeps him stuck. A man without purpose is easily influenced. He absorbs opinions without questioning them. He follows the crowd instead of leading his own way. He allows himself to be manipulated, whether by society, by the expectations of others, or by his own emotions. Instead of being the architect of his life, he becomes a passive participant, letting life happen to him rather than shaping them with intention. And because he has no grand mission, his energy gets wasted on trivial pursuits. He seeks approval rather than respect. He spends more time fantasizing than executing. He settles for mediocrity because he has no standard of excellence to measure himself against. And in the process, he loses years, valuable, irreplaceable years, chasing things that will never fulfill him. A man who spends his time, energy, and focus chasing women is a man who has lost sight of his own value. And I love this line that gentlemen do. The idea of buying the toy, celebrating the inheritance before pursuing a career. He's not moving with purpose, he is not building, he is not creating. He is simply reacting, running after validation instead of earning respect. He believes that his worth is determined by how many women he can attract, how much attention he can get, and how desired he appears to be. But in reality, this endless pursuit only drains him, weakens him, and leaves him empty. When a man is obsessed with women, his priorities become distorted. Instead of waking up every morning with a mission to conquer, a skill to master, a business to build, or a body to strengthen, he wakes up thinking about who he can impress, who he can seduce, and who he can entertain. He spends hours texting, chasing, waiting for replies, hoping for validation, while the real kings of the world are out there sharpening their minds, increasing their power, and solidifying their legacy. And recognize that energy is something. A man who constantly chases women puts himself in a position of weakness. He is always the one pursuing, always the one waiting, always the one hoping. And in doing so, he hands over his power. A man who doesn't stand on his own foundation will always find himself bending to the expectations of others. He will change his behavior to impress. He will compromise his principles to please. And he will mold himself into whatever shape he believes will win him attention. But in the process, he loses his identity. Women are not drawn to men who beg for their time. They are drawn to men who command respect through their presence, their achievements, and their confidence. A man who chases is a man who is declaring with his actions that he is not enough as he is. He is saying, I need you to feel complete. I need your validation to feel worthy. And the moment a man believes he needs someone else to define his worth, he is already lost. A king does not chase, he builds. He focuses on his purpose, his empire, his growth. He knows that the highest value he can offer the world is not in his ability to seduce, but in his ability to create, to lead, and to leave an impact. He does not waste time trying to convince others of his value. He becomes valuable through action, through discipline, through self-mastery. And when a man truly understands this, he stops chasing and starts attracting. But the ones who never learn, the ones who remain fixated on women instead of their own potential, are the ones who never rise above mediocrity. A man's greatest asset is not his charm, his looks, or his ability to impress. It is his value, his strength, and his unwavering commitment to becoming the best version of himself. When a man focuses on building himself, his mind, his body, his discipline, his wealth, he naturally becomes a magnet for the right kind of people, the right kind of opportunities, and yes, the right kind of woman. But most men get it backwards. They spend their time trying to attract instead of trying to evolve. They chase instead of creating. They seek validation instead of earning respect. And in the process, they weaken themselves, sacrificing their future for the fleeting approval of others. A man who builds himself doesn't need to prove his worth to anyone. His actions, his presence, and his results speak for themselves. He is disciplined, he is consistent, and he is on a mission. He understands that his purpose must come first. Without purpose, he is lost. Without direction, he is weak. Without a foundation, he is easily shaken. And when a man is weak, when he is lost, when he is unsure of himself, he attracts chaos, not quality. He finds himself in relationships that drain him, situations that distract him, and cycles that keep him stuck. The right woman is not looking for a man who is desperate for attention. She is not drawn to a man who seeks approval, who lives in insecurity, or who needs constant reassurance. She is drawn to a man who stands firm, who has a vision, who knows where he is going and refuses to be knocked off course. A man who walks with purpose commands respect without ever needing to ask for it. He doesn't chase because he doesn't have to. He doesn't beg because he knows his worth. He doesn't mold himself to fit someone else's expectations because he has already built himself into something valuable. A man who builds himself creates options. He doesn't settle for whatever comes his way because he has the power to choose. He doesn't attach his happiness to another person because he has built fulfillment within himself. He doesn't waste time chasing relationships that lead nowhere because he understands that his energy is his greatest asset, and he refuses to waste it on anything that doesn't align with his mission. A weak man thinks that finding the right woman will make him whole. He believes that if he just gets the right person by his side, everything will fall into place. But a strong man knows that he must first build himself. First become the kind of man who naturally attracts the best. He doesn't rely on luck, fate, or chance. He puts in the work. He sharpens his mind. He strengthens his body. He builds his empire. He masters his emotions, and in doing so, he becomes undeniable. The world does not respond to weakness. It does not reward desperation, nor does it grant favors to those who beg for recognition. The world moves for those who take control, who step forward with certainty, who refuse to be at the mercy of others. Power is the language of influence, the currency of respect, and the foundation of all success. Those who possess it shape their own destiny, while those who plead, who wait, who hope are left behind, forgotten in the noise of those who command attention. A man who begs for opportunities, who waits for permission, who constantly seeks approval will always find himself powerless. He will be overlooked, ignored, and dismissed because he has already declared his position. He has given up control. When a man positions himself as a follower, as someone waiting to be chosen, he relinquishes his authority over his own life. The world does not stop for those who wait. It moves for those who take. Power is built, not given. It is earned through discipline, through mastery, through the relentless pursuit of excellence. A man who understands this does not ask for what he wants, he creates it. He does not hope for a better future, he builds it. He does not seek approval, he sets the standard. And because of this, he moves differently. His presence commands attention without a word. His actions demand respect without a request. His results speak so loudly that no one can ignore him. A man who pleads for respect will never receive it. He will bend, compromise, and submit in an attempt to be accepted, but the world does not admire those who lower themselves. Respect is not given to those who ask, it is granted to those who stand firm, who hold their ground, who refuse to shrink. When a man carries himself with strength, with conviction, with an unshakable belief in his own worth, the world has no choice but to acknowledge him. The difference between those who lead and those who follow is simple. Leaders understand that power is non-negotiable. They do not wait for someone to recognize their value. They prove it. They do not complain about unfairness, they rise above it. They do not beg for opportunity, they create them. And because of this, they dictate their own terms. They move through life with confidence, with purpose, with absolute certainty that they are in control. The weak man believes that if he just asks enough times, if he just pleads hard enough, someone will grant him the respect, the opportunities, the success he desires. But the strong man knows better. He understands that the world only respects one thing, power. And power is never requested, it is taken. The world does not reward weakness, nor does it respect those who beg for approval. A man without purpose is easily distracted, chasing validation instead of building himself. True power comes not from pleading, but from mastery, discipline, and an unshakable commitment to growth. Chasing women, seeking approval, or waiting for recognition will never make a man great. Instead, he must build himself, his mind, his body, his wealth, and his influence. When a man focuses on becoming his strongest self, everything else falls into place. Power is not requested, it is earned. Respect is not begged for, it is commanded.